Headline reads, Downtown Portland struggles to recover from pandemic-era office vacancies. Well, why is it struggling? Yeah. I was recently in Portland. I went to the ICE protests by Antifa. I covered all that, but also I took a look around, and some of the stuff that I saw in the downtown core, it was shocking. It was wildly shocking how few businesses were there and what the impact moving forward will be. Let's get into it. Here we go. So I rolled into Portland at about 3:45 on a Friday afternoon. And when I pull off whatever I was on, whatever highway I was on, I was off the I-5. And I pull into downtown Portland, and it felt like a Saturday afternoon, traffic flow-wise, right? Pretty easy to get in and out of. Wasn't bad. All the traffic goes around downtown Portland. And so you're left with whomever is leaving downtown Portland and very few people coming in. This is a Friday afternoon, mind you. Should have been just jammed, absolutely jammed with people, because that's what a downtown core often is, right? Not so much in Portland. It was wild. Man in blue picked me up from my hotel. We went to dinner. It was great. He gave me some safety protocol. Hey, if Antifa's chasing you, go down this road. Don't go left, go right. You know, exit strategy. It was invaluable. Much appreciated. And so also had a chance to, as he was driving, look around and see kind of what's going on. And I noticed how many vacant street level storefronts there were. And that was like, yeah, this is worse than I thought. This is worse than I thought. After I covered the protests for about a 4-hour period, probably 6:30 p.m. and I'll show you a bunch of the footage. Don't worry. We'll get to some of the good stuff. I covered the protests from about 6:30 to 10:30. And then I thought, well, I could get an Uber out of here back to my hotel. And the man in blue had also offered to pick me up, which was above and beyond. That was great. But I decided, you know what? I'm going to walk back to my hotel. What could go wrong? It's Portland, right? I mean, it's Portland. Mostly safe. It actually was pretty safe, the route that I took. But in my way back, I meandered through because my cell phone died, and I was trying to, going off memory and map to how to get back to my hotel. I knew I had 10, 15 minutes before my phone charged up enough where I could, use Google Maps again. And so I kind of wandered around the city, and I was like, wow, this street level is devoid of businesses. You know where you just pop into those little stores? You just go here, go there, and there's like, this is downtown. Those are all empty. In Portland, in the financial district, when you find a store that is up and operational, wow, there's a store here. There's a store here selling high-end handbags. What's the deal? What's going on here? I want you to watch this little video here real quick, and we'll get into the article, and I'll show you some footage of what I kind of did. But here we go. So this is a business owner in downtown Portland. Can't quite work out why downtown Portland is empty and there aren't any people. Here we go.
I'm at my restaurant Mother's, and here's my dining room. Kind of empty now. One of the reasons why it's empty is because our city is empty.
Correct. It really is.
Our city empty. Well, because people keep talking smack about our city.
They're not talking smack. You have crazy stuff going on in your city. And whether it's in the downtown core or not, doesn't matter, because commercial real estate is all about the optics. And if people hear there are protests going on, if people hear there is rioting going on, they're going to go with that. Corporate's going to go with that. Small businesses are going to go with that. You're a local, you get it, but that doesn't matter. It's all about the optics, and it's not about talking smack. It's about the reality, which is you've got a city that's wildly out of control. Your mayor is just trying to make everybody pretend that everything's fine in Portland. It's not. Your police chief is bending the knee to Antifa. Your governor leadership is bending the knee to Antifa. You're not allowing your police force to do their job. You wouldn't have to have the National Guard coming in to defend the federal buildings if you allowed your police department to do their jobs. And you've got high taxes. You are an anti-business climate. So it's not about talking smack. It's about the reality. And that reality is being magnified on a global level. Hey, Portland is terrible because of, well, the reasons I just listed off. But let's hear what you have to say further here.
Now, we've had issues. We know that. We've had homeless, like every city.
No, your homeless is off the charts. You're homeless because you've supported homeless the way that you have. Your homeless is here, and the rest of the country might be here, but most of the rest of the country is way down in here. Portland homelessness, off the hook. But, let's keep going.
And there's protests outside of ICE, like every city.
No, not like every city. That's not how it goes. Let's take a look at some of that. Now, how many protests throughout the nation do you have the Cookie Monster? Do you have the Cookie Monster? You've got people in furry suits. You've got Antifa out there 108 nights, something like that. And this is actual footage that I took standing there. You have federal officers on top of a rooftop looking down on a couple hundred people, a quarter of them just absolute far-left extremist nut job Antifas. That impacts your business community, whether you want to recognize that or not. This is terrible for business. Rest of the country doesn't have that going. Let's keep going. A couple more. Get the fuck out of here! Now, other business leaders recognize that every president has deported criminal illegals from our communities, right? Deporting illegal criminals from our communities is standard. That is what ICE does. That's normal. This isn't going away. This building here isn't going away because a bunch of communist far left extremists are very vocal with their bullhorns. They're insane. They are literally insane. I mean, these people are hopped up on drugs. They're doing a whole bunch of, they're smoking, they're doing vapes, they're smoking weed. It's a super toxic environment. That's why I only went for about 4 hours. I wanted to catch the after dark crowd, right? Business leaders throughout the United States don't want to have exposure to this kind of nonsense, which is Portland's police department, Portland's mayor, Portland City Council, and Oregon's governor are all covering for this nonsense because they know the optics are terrible. Other cities don't have this going on when a ICE facility, which is part of, hey, you can't have everybody just running into the United States willy-nilly, despite what happened during that whole Joe Biden debacle of an era. That's not normal. And yet people in Portland are like, we got protests just like everybody else. Not like this. So they're playing Star Wars music as the ICE officers come out. ICE is just trying to bring some people out of the building, some criminal illegals or they're going to go take them somewhere else, whatever they do with them. Take them to the airport, fly them home to Venezuela, wherever they're going, right? This is not normal. Interfering with federal law enforcement and standard immigration stuff, right? Hey, you came here illegally. You are a criminal illegal. You got to go. That's what's going on here. And yet Portland, in its geniusness, just thinks, well, we'll send a bunch of Antifa down and they're really going to rile things up. And, one of my thoughts when I'm standing there is these people are just yelling and screaming at this federal building night after night after night. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. I mean, it might. I mean, if as far as ICE just, well, they yelled at us one too many times, I guess we'll just take our play toys and go home, right? It's delusional. It's beyond delusional. Leadership in Portland is delusional. Delusional. Police chief in Portland, delusional. Because he's been tagged from above. Hey, you got to do this. Don't let your cops do their job. And the cops just stand on a corner behind me to the north and west, kitty corner, and just kind of stand around a little group. Every now and then one of them will walk across the street to up over here, off to the right, up over in here. I saw one of the police officers and nicely ask people not to be in the street. This is a major thoroughfare coming in through here. There's a fair amount of traffic, and you've got these numbskulls just doing this kind of thing. So all of this impacts not only recruiting police officers, but businesses. They don't want to deal with all this nonsense, whether it's from just, hey, where's your business moving? Portland, good Lord. This is 2 miles away from where I'm talking about, where all the businesses are hollowed out. They're all cored out. There's very few homeless in this area because it's 2 miles away from services, and the homeless are lazy. When you have Portland leadership just bringing you everything but the drugs, why would you walk 2 miles away to your tent? You wouldn't. But let's keep going. So you've got the Star Wars music going on here. The feds are walking out of the building. This is the driveway over here. I mean, this is the driveway here, and you're looking back towards the gate in through there. It's just this surreal deal. Star Wars music playing.
Sad little bit.
Oh, yeah. Listen. Look at this guy. Yeah, it's a big party in Portland. Isn't this funny? Here we are. There's the Cookie Monster. Legit, straight up, the Cookie Monster. Now, they had this vehicle come here, and they had a line up. This was probably the most exciting portion of the evening. It was, there'd been a whole bunch of stuff leading up to this. The conservative podcaster got arrested for basically just being on the street. Katie Davis Court got whacked in the eye with a flagpole. Just a bunch of this isn't normal. This is not normal stuff.
And so now I'm just kind of fucking. I'm surrounded. Here we go. What's up? Here we go. Yep. What's up? Here we go. The only one was that you're having to exercise.
But hey, let's keep going with our story. So anyway, back to our story.
But what's different about Portland, Oregon, is that people left the office buildings and then didn't go back after COVID. And one of the things that our great leadership of the city forgot to do was build housing downtown. So nobody really lives downtown. So we were very dependent on office workers. So now Nobody's in the office buildings. U.S. Bank left the U.S. Bank building. Bank of America left the Bank of America building. Wells Fargo left the Wells Fargo building.
Why did they all leave? That's the question you're not answering, because it doesn't make sense. You've got taxation, you've got street level conditions that are harrowing at best. You've got crazy people. I've podcasted on the crazy people with knives just running around. You got whacked out nut jobs, not necessarily in this area as much, but it's damn near close to it. And I'll show you what I mean by that. But let's keep going.
So I am surrounded just by empty buildings.
Yep.
When I say I mean my restaurant mothers. And we were very dependent on this. And that's the state of downtown. Boarded buildings because empty buildings. Why empty buildings? Because people are not returning to their offices. And why would they? If I could work from home, I would. But I can't. I have to feed people.
So here's the thing. Not all businesses work remote. A lot of those businesses that she mentioned that shut down, those are not, they have moved their headquarters. They have moved their headquarters elsewhere because of an anti-business environment, high taxation, street level conditions that are harrowing at best. You got a bunch of nut job, whacked out drug addicts running around, which I will show you. This is my next step. So this is where I walked. I walked from here. This is the immigration right there. Okay. So I walked from there. I didn't follow this route, but, pretty close. And I followed it up to here. Now there is a mini-mart that I'm going to show you just to the north and east. It was I started this journey at about 10:30 on a Friday evening. As you do, as you do, you're just walking in a city you don't know all that well for 10:30 at night. And what could go wrong there, right? Well, so I got close to my hotel and I realized I don't want to eat at the Hilton restaurant. I could do that. I could go back to Bellevue and do that. I want to go get a snack at a mini-mart. And it must have been, I don't know, 11:30, 11:45, something like that by the time I got back into the general vicinity. So I walked around a little bit further and I ended up at Pete's Mini-Mart on 4th Avenue. Now, it is a 24-hour mini-mart and it caters to the drug crowd. No lie. When I walked in there was a dude hunched over on the counter. Let me see if I can. Yeah, there was a dude hunched. Oh, no, that's not correct. Here we go. The counter is right here. There's a dude hunched over there, and he was either half asleep or he was, counting his change. You couldn't really work out what was going on, but it was, and you had this kind of number going, and the door wasn't open like that. It was closed, and it was just a whole bunch of drug addicts coming in and out and getting their candy, I mean, look at this. It's candy land in there. You just got a lot of snacks and it's loaded up. It's a drug user's paradise. And when I walked out after working through who was there, a young couple came in probably their 30s. They were missing all of their teeth. They didn't even recognize I was there. They didn't even I was standing right in front of them and their whole world was so whacked out from the drugs that they couldn't figure out what they're doing. And at this point in time, I am realizing what Pete's Market is all about. And it's shaky at best. This is downtown Portland, right? I am experiencing this firsthand. And I walk outside from the door right here. And by this time, there was a handful of people over here, and they are doing God knows what. They've got bags, they're sitting down, they're pulling stuff out. And I'm like, okay, gotta go. So I come out this door, I hang a righty. I'm coming back towards where we're sitting here. And I'm going up the street, and next door to it is something with some kind of gambling in it. There was a whole bunch of people out on the sidewalk smoking cigarettes, just looking real drunk. And so I come out of Pete's Market and there is a black dude absolutely screaming at a security guard about 400 years of oppression and get away from me, and just clearly whacked out of his mind, just absolutely out of his mind. Now, I understand that this is late on a Friday evening, and this is to be expected, but in other cities, you would not have this because you don't have the whacked out homeless population that are absolutely out of their mind on drugs, that are being subsidized by the city, and they can kind of live wherever they want, even though the mayor is saying, we got to crack down on the homeless now. And you're left with good luck with that. And you've got business owners like this poor lady here who recognizes that Portland's in a world of hurt, but doesn't recognize why. Because she thinks this is normal like every other city, and it's the business's fault for leaving. Why did the businesses leave? And we just went over that, right? Let's keep going, though.
So here we are. Come, eat. We'd love to feed you.
I got no problem with that. Businesses want to pitch what they want to pitch, and for some people, it's going to work. For other people, it's not going to work, right? It is. You're going to say, I am not going to that hellhole for any particular reason. I'm a glass half full kind of guy, right? Portland, absolutely beautiful city that's just been wrecked by terrible liberal policy. Just wrecked. Let them live wherever. Should be fine. Bunch of communism going on. You got Democratic Socialists of America just having their way with the city. So it's because of policy like this, and you got to have high taxation because you got to pay for all this nonsense that you don't really need, but Portland feels like it does need. So you got this situation where you are not going to have leadership with ability to work your way through what's actually going on in Portland. That's just not going to happen because you got people that are delusional. You got people that don't understand basic economics, and you got people who aren't recognizing the impact of, a national war on a couple of block area that shouldn't be happening because local law enforcement isn't given the ability or isn't taking the ability to actually provide some safety to another law enforcement that's at the federal level. We're not doing this in other cities. This is not happening to this level. Maybe in Los Angeles a little bit, but LA is a totally different animal, right? It's a massive city. But here in Portland, you've got Rose City Antifa, and they just go ham. Now, one of the funny things that I will be reporting on is there was a group of high school boys that came in from Oregon City, which is to the south and east of downtown Portland. It's kind of a bedroom community beyond Lake Oswego. So it's out there a little bit. But you had some high school boys that came in. High school boys, like 17, 18, tops. And they started leading USA chants, and they were really rocking Antifa from the standpoint of they were creating this pro-USA, this anti-bitch about ICE. They're basically applauding ICE and what they're doing. And Antifa, because they, in a city like Portland, Antifa usually has zero competition for ideological nonsense, which is what Antifa is. It's, we want to get rid of ICE. We want to get rid of the judicial system. We want to get rid of cops. All cops are bastards. Just this absolute anarchy. It's literally based on anarchy. And they see anybody who has an opposing viewpoint as fascist. So they just call everybody fascist. And then local law enforcement, arrest people at random, like conservative podcasters, conservative influencers, and they don't arrest Antifa because, we just want to give them a little break. We believe in freedom of speech. And allowing them, Antifa, to basically, physically assault others. And, did it happen? Oh, we're not really sure. Because that's what leadership believes. Leadership in Portland, leadership in Oregon is on the side of the far left extremists. And Antifa tolerates them because they give them the opportunity to do whatever they want. So where does that leave businesses? Away out of Portland. Any of the ones that could have been there when they got the ability to hit that eject button, boom, we're out. We're done. Commercial office buildings. How many podcasts have I done on those where they're just being purchased for an absolute song? Yeah, you betcha. A song. I mean, 85% off market value from a handful of years ago, pre-pandemic. Wild stuff. All right, there's a handful of things in this article. I kind of want to go through it here. Wednesday morning, Lisa Schroeder, owner and executive chef of Mother's Bistro and Bar, Southwest 3rd Avenue, and I was on Southwest 4th Avenue at that mini-mart, observed her empty dining room, something she says has become far too common. We've had homeless like every other city. No, we talked about that. There are protests outside of ICE like every city. I was there in the summer of love. It was beyond. And I'm from Seattle. I am used to this nonsense. I stopped a live stream because I looked around and realized how violent the crowd could become. Everybody wants to say, oh, it's mostly peaceful. I don't really see anything. Well, when it happens, it happens. And those are the skirmishes that you see on the news, right? But what's different about Portland is that people left the office buildings and didn't go back after COVID. Ask yourself why. And it's not the people. It's the businesses. It's ownership. It is business owners. They are the ones that have the people, the employees. She said in a video posted to social media, that's what we just watched. This summer, downtown Portland, clean and safe. The area I walked around was clean, and walking around Portland is way easier than downtown Seattle. A lot of it's kind of fairly level, and that part is great. You've got public transport. They hate cars in Portland. They hate cars because there's more space to ride your bike in every different direction. Walkers get a big, 18-foot wide footpath, and so all of that, it's hard to get in and down. It would be hard to get in and out of downtown Portland, except nobody is there. So it's pretty easy, which is both, good and bad. Reported that foot traffic reached its highest level since the pandemic. And yet, there's no businesses. There's no retail street level businesses. Parking was $20 for a 24-hour period in downtown Portland in a very nice building adjacent across the street from the Hilton. $20 for a 24-hour time period. And if you're coming from somewhere, other than West Coast, Best Coast, you might think, well, that's kind of expensive. But, 24-hour time period in Seattle, that's a bargain in downtown. Parking for some of the games that we're encountering now, it's approaching $100 to park at games. However, the number of office workers downtown remains low. Traffic from January to August was still just 70% of what it was in 2019. I am shocked that it's 70%. I would have said like 50. I would have said the city is half empty. With fewer office workers returning, restaurants are feeling the impact. All businesses are feeling the impact because when you're faced with an anti-business environment, when you're faced with high taxes, and then you got a whole bunch of these other factors that we've, identified 10 ways from Sunday, it's not that hard to figure out, right? It's really during the week that's my bread and butter, Schroeder said. Without midday weekday traffic, our city looks abandoned. It does. A normal workday looks like a Sunday afternoon. There's just very few cars because there's very few people because the financial district has been hollowed out, absolutely hollowed out. Similar to San Francisco, but to me, worse. Because San Francisco doesn't have these crazy protests. It doesn't have this really bad optics of law enforcement isn't enforcing the law. And that's what's going on in Portland right now. Law enforcement isn't enforcing the law. So we got vacancy rate that rose to 34.6% in the third quarter, down from 33 and a third in the second quarter. So you've got vacancy rate still going up. And anybody leasing space there or considering, is going to look at those numbers and go, well, why don't we wait? Because this is just only going to get cheaper as we move forward. This week, Wells Fargo announced 50 more layoffs at its downtown office. Okay, that's not. In 2024, REI closed its Pearl District location, citing crime and theft. We didn't even talk about shoplifting, did we? And that is just ongoing. How about this? Earlier this summer, Meals on Wheels people closed its Elm Court Center. When Meals on Wheels, who brings meals to the elderly, closes down because they cite safety concerns, the whacked out homeless drug addicts are jacking food from a Meals on Wheels organization. Make that make sense. Yeah. Well, anyway, and they stated people were afraid to come in and our volunteers and our staff were just not safe because they were being threatened by knives. Fires were being set on our doorsteps. And as I walk around, a lot of downtown Portland smells like urine. It smells like urine. And guess what? That high stench of ammonia from urine, that's not what business leaders want for their employees, let alone for their managers, let alone for their families, for, hey, come to the office. Oh, never mind. We're in Portland. That's not going to work out. I'll meet you in the burbs. I'll meet you in Lake Oswego. We'll go to lunch, right? I mean, it breaks my heart. My staff are relying on people coming in. My servers need it for their livelihood. My cooks need to cook. My dishwashers need to wash. It's a very different world than when we moved here in 2019. Well, you had some terrible timing there. You had some horrific timing there because all that's over and the imprint on Portland has been one where businesses go, oh, Portland? Nope, we're not dealing with that. There are too many buyer objections, and that's what you've got going on in Portland. And because of that whole keep Portland weird, you're not going to get leadership that's going to come in and make decisions because they're far left. Portland is just whether we want to believe it or not, they're a bunch of far left extremists that kind of run things. Ideology is such that they don't really care until the budget starts to get impacted. And that is where this is going. Massive budget deficits, and they're going to have to continue to raise taxes to make a go of it. How's that going to work out? Well, how's it working out already? Not all that well, right? So those are some of the things that you can't really tell by listening to some jackass on a podcast. But when said jackass goes there, you might get a little insight. I'm going to spend some more time in Portland. I didn't get a chance to go to Old Town. I didn't get a chance to go to the library. I didn't get a chance to go to Powell's, the bookstore. I want to do all that. But yeah, it was quite a trip. And it was very eye-opening from the standpoint of, wow, Portland's reputation has really, really done a job on its local economy. A hotel room in a very nice Hilton, the Hilton downtown, whatever it was. It was a Friday night, and I rented that room in the morning. I rented the room for Friday and Saturday, and I think it was $175 a night. In Seattle, that'd be close to $400 in the downtown core. It'd be $400. You know what I mean? Dinner was only $60, and that included like 4 adult beverages. They were good. 2 full-on sandwiches, meal, dinner kind of things. $60. Because you got to keep it cheap. Otherwise, people can't afford it. And boom, there you go. So you've got all this competition for limited number of people. And in the downtown core, you've got no competition for your commercial space because so much of it is empty. Now, we don't get a lot of stats on street level, vacancy factor. I don't know what it is for the entire financial district, but it has got to be high. Because literally, when I'm looking around going, hey, I actually see a store. There's a store. Wow. That's something else. A store. They're selling stuff. Well, yeah. It's not where you want things to be, right? That's not where you want things to be. So until Portland kind of starts to sort it out, expect to see this decline to keep on going, because you do not have leadership in Portland that can recognize where things are, where things they used to be, and where things are headed moving forward. You do not have leadership like that, as exemplified by what's going on at the ICE building. That should not be happening. This should not be a discussion. It should not be happening. It's absolutely absurd. And in the name of free speech, Portland's leadership is absolutely shooting themselves in the foot, just repeatedly. Oh yeah, let's just bring out that gun and poof. Time and time and time and time again. And they seem to be okay with it. All right. But then when you can't work out why things are going sideways, maybe you need to ask yourself, this is concerning. We have some safety issues. What do we do? Yeah. Portland's going to be host for a while. That's bottom line here. Portland's host. Till you get some different leadership in there. Good luck with that. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thank you so much for being here. I'll have a bunch more content coming out on my trip in Portland. We'll see where it goes. But really, really wild time. Thanks again for being here. Love to have you subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.